Michael Saylor believes that Bitcoin will keep crashing, but there is no need to worry. It will definitely reach $1 million or soon later. He said that if you bought Bitcoin, you could lose money in a year or two or three. But over the course of 4 years, nobody ever lost in Bitcoin, holding it for 4 years straight. That's a story with the most dominant networks. If you are buying it without the intention to hold it for at least 4 years, then you are not buying it for the right reason, says Michael. The reason to buy Bitcoin is to give it to your kids and your grandkids because it's a long duration treasury reserve asset. Buy it for the people you love or to support the things you love. If you want to trade, you can gamble commodities or go to a casino or gamble on sports or whatever. But this is something to hold for a decade or decades. And if that's the case, then the worst thing you can do is stare at the way the market trades every single day. Because not anybody tells you what they know, which way it's going. It really just wants your money. They want to generate a commission. They want to make you insecure. Your inbox must be full of all these dudes offering you a special trading strategy where they are telling you that they can help you make more money by using their patented trading strategy. There is no such thing and you don't know. It's too complicated. You must understand the cyclical nature of Bitcoin. When it goes up and then it will go down. The way you use Bitcoin is a long-term savings account. So if you want to have a proportion of your money that you like to gamble with and speculate with and bet on things you are passionate about, taking that part of your money and invest it in new ventures or invest it in cool things. Take another portion of your money that you want to save for the next 20 years or 30 years and put that into Bitcoin, says Michael, and just leave it there. Don't get caught up and all the back and forth because it used to be people micros on the cyclical nature of it or it's in there permanently. How are you going to feel if you sell it and it goes to 82,000? When it goes to a million, are you going to be bragging that you bought it at 0.019 million and you sold it at 0.202 million? Aren't you gonna feel freaking stupid? You bought it at 0.19 million and sold it at a 50% interest gain at 0.023 million. You lost a million. Last time there was an 80% decliner, 75% declining the price from a peak of December 2017, January 2018, and then it went down. Do you wait and then you buy like 5 times of the Bitcoin? So in the first decade, Bitcoin was dominated by a bunch of traders with leverage and offshore exchanges, and they were speculators, and that was one group of people you have caught. Insurance companies, corporations, treasuries, institutional investors, they are buying this stuff instead of gold. They are buying it to hold it for a decade as an inflation hedge. They are not using leverage. They are not using offshore exchanges. They are not speculators. Their mindset is to hold it for 10 years. They are not going to sell it. That means you are not going to see that kind of volatility. So the volatility is going to tamp down a little bit into this. It already is. If you look at it, the volatility of Bitcoin is decreasing and the volatility of everything else is increasing, adds up Michael. Let's have one more metaphor. LeBron James started playing basketball at the age of 9 and by age 18, all the scouts knew this is the best high school basketball player in the world and he's probably one of the best professional basketball players in the world. At age 13, he probably punched somebody on the court. He might have missed a game at 15 because he smoked some weed. He's a little bit volatile here and there because at age 11, maybe he got pissed off at someone and you are like LeBron James is volatile. When he's gonna blow up again? From age 19 to age 29, LeBron James crushed everybody and everything in his way. And you probably should have signed him. Because of someone's first 10 years, they were promising and volatile. Doesn't mean that the next 10 years of the athlete is going to be an exact repeat. It is not. When you are 25-year-old, you don't act like when you were 13 years old. And Bitcoin is moving from its first 10 years to its next 10 years. And it's a much more mature asset. It's not you can't look backwards and say you are sure it will be like it used to be. The people that are the wealthiest families in the world, They are like these New York City families where you ask them, where's your money actually comes from? And they are like, my great grandfather, he bought like 4 city blocks in Manhattan. And they are like, did you ever sell that? It's like, no, we still own it. They own it for 100 years. If you have really good property, like if you owned a block on Central Park in Manhattan, do you think there's any year in the last 100 years it would have been a good idea to sell it, pay capital gains tax and buy something else? So what they do, they hold it for 100 years, and as people print more dollars, the value of the property goes up at the rate that the Federal Reserve prints dollars. And then every 5 years they refinance it and they borrow more money against it. So if you borrow against an asset that's appreciating in value, you don't pay capital gains tax, and then the money you borrow you can live off of, and you don't pay income tax on it. So if you have the world's perfect price, if you want a city block and cyberspace that's good for the next 100, that's Bitcoin. Michael adds up that a Bitcoin is the city block and cyberspace if you own that, and if billion people are coming to that city and they are all going to need to buy their own block and you own the right property. It's the Manhattan of cyberspace. Why don't you just keep it in the family for 100 years, and the next time you feel you need some money, well, you go borrow money against your Bitcoin. There's no capital gains tax. There's no income tax. If Bitcoin was going up 100% a year, you are getting paid 100% tax-free interest, and you are going to pay 5% interest to borrow the money. It's a 95% difference. So you don't want to sell because you get tagged for the taxes, and then you stop generating the yield on the property. At the end, Michael says a simple line that really wealthy families, they just keep the assets forever and they just finance them. That's what they actually do. Now I would like to know your thoughts. What do you think? Is Bitcoin a long-term holding asset or a short-term trading asset? And if you own some Bitcoin or not, tell me that also in the comment section below. One more important thing, guys. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel if you want to receive notifications for more such amazing videos. I'll catch you in my next video. Till then, bye bye.